Chris Perini will start from pole position and Peter Patton from second. Those two had a great battle yesterday. Perini led the race all the way through until the pit stops. And then all of a sudden, Patton took him under pit stops by about half a second. Perini waited till the last 3 laps of the race to take the lead back, and he did that well. John Beck, Brad Nielsen, Simon Haggerty making up our top 5, Daz.
Peter Clare to John Paul Drake, who will be running dual duties in his race meeting this weekend, trying to take the prototype championship as well, which will be on track very soon. So we'll watch how his weekend continues to go on. We wish John Paul Drake all the very best in his adventures there. So Bill Medlin, Greg Kenny, Michael Whiting, and, well, champion-elect is Kim Burke, and coming from the rear of the grid. Rolling start, and they come down, and there is the green flag. It's Panther, foot to the metal. Simon Haggerty darted out very, very early onto the inside there and got a really good run. He's grabbed another gear and just absolutely streamed past Beck there. So Beck got a new engine overnight, and he's been gazumped by the car behind him at the start of the race. So really good, strong start there by Simon Haggerty. But he's going to go 3 wide with the other protagonist there into turn 2, and that will be Beck and Clare. So watch for Peter Clare. He's pushing on this weekend as well. A couple of cars returning, and that is the car in second place currently. Peter Patton had a bit of a mid-season sabbatical, and we've got one down the wall. That's the number 66 of Mitchell. Wow, I almost thought that was the other multicoloured car of Kim Burke there. So that would have been not good. Not good at all. The number 38 weaving there, trying to get a bit of tyre temp in during the race there. So obviously feeling not as gripped up as he'd like to be, but certainly costing himself a little bit of time there. The number 77 of Beck right behind. Then it's Clare, Haggerty, and there's Kim Burke. Geez, playing conservatively. As he should. He only needs to finish, and rightly so. He won't do anything to tamper with that situation for him. So just get that clarified for me, Daz, if you could. If Burke doesn't finish for some reason, Perini has to win? Has to win and get fastest lap. And get fastest lap, okay. So, yeah. So still a lot to play out, even if Burke doesn't. If he doesn't finish. Yeah, correct. So at the moment, Burke needs to get to the line. And Perini comes streaming on through. Patton, you know, got on Kim Burke, play the long game. He came into this year, he's been the bridesmaid so many times in the championship hunt. Enjoy this weekend and, you know, waltz away with the big silverware. There's that big off for the 66 in Mitchell. Just went left and hit the grass and lost all control of that. Yeah, there's way too much toe out and, sorry, toe in and caster there now for that car to continue. It was right there. You can see where he's gone off and hit the pace sign as he comes down. There's the Morris Finance leaderboard. We thanks Morris Finance. Got the great driver's lounge here at the track as well. So a really good inception there by Morris Finance. Perini, Patton, Nielsen, Beck, Clare, Simon Haggerty, his father Tony. There they are there, 6 and 7. It's Simon in the number 5. So his dad's gone streaming on through there. In fact, he's picked up 2 spaces there on Peter Clark. They're streaming on by Clark. Has he got an issue? Appears as though he does, because coming around is going to be Kenny and Whiting. He fights back again, puts Simon Haggerty back 1 more spot. So battles raging. Here's the number 66 of Mitchell in the lane. No, turn it off. That's it. Turn it off. They saw the wheel wobbling around. There's no way that that can be repaired throughout this race. There is compulsory pit stops in this race, which there are times that are levelled on the contenders. And based on yesterday's race, that is where the exciting part of this race today will once again happen. Perini has a 5-second disadvantage over Patton, effectively. So a front left issue, we're being told, for Mitchell is the reason why he's out of the race. Perini a 5-second disadvantage over Patton, who can leave the pits 5 seconds earlier, effectively. So Chris Perini needs to have a 5-second margin on Patton as we see the car of Tony Haggerty go wide and back onto the track now to keep an advantage of the lead in the race. If you've ever wondered whether they're listening to our commentary, Tony, I have to go right back on everything I said about Kim Burke. Kim Burke only needs to score 1 point and he'll win the championship. So Perini if he gets that fastest lap. And all that other stuff I said before, completely disregard it. Talia from the management down there of Radicals has just come through and said Kim Burke just needs 1 point to take out the championship.
But if he doesn't finish the race, he won't get that point, will he?
You're correct.
Yeah.
So that's the situation there.
So
as well.
he has to finish.
He has to finish.
Yeah.
Yep. He has to finish. So that's what is at play here. So Perini is out in front doing everything he possibly can to arrest that bit of misfortune throughout the season. We're going to have a champion at the end of this race. And at the moment, with the way Kim Burke's just motoring around and trying to stay out of trouble, you'd suggest that as long as he keeps going, he'll be right for it. Number 47, Peter Clare, going out over the back of the Ripple Strip as we go back to the lead of this race. Chris Perini, Peter Padden in the first Focus car there, and streaming through turn one. These cars with their ground effects and their aero are so fast through there. They're just like ripped up all the way through there.
And it's a great sound too that comes out of the back of these cars because they are so low. The reverbs down this main straight of Sydney Motorsport Park. It's a really good motor racing sound. Mitch Nielsen is a bit of a wild card, I suppose, here on his race yesterday. The fact that he's moved himself up to third place and is only within 2 seconds of the lead. So really giving himself every opportunity to be within this race and may even pick up extra seconds on Perini through the pits.
So I mentioned the success time which is added to these cars, and this is how it's going to play out. Chris Perini will have pit stop time of 85 seconds plus 25, so that's a long time.
105, that's 95 seconds in total.
Yeah, that's a long stop.
Oh, sorry, a minute 35 in total.
That's a long stop there. So Simon Haggerty will have 80 plus 20, so that's 100 seconds. So it's, again,
that's
similar
5
time.
seconds difference. Yep.
75 for 75 and 15, so that's 90 for Peter Padden.
What about Mitch Nielsen?
Mitch Nielsen has got 80.
Okay.
80 seconds, so he's actually sitting...
so he's going to pick up 20 seconds on Perini, so he could definitely go to the lead.
Yep. Tony Haggerty is only 70 seconds. Ollie Smith is not playing any further part. Michael Whiting's only 60. Bill Medlin, 60. Greg Kenny, 60. And John Beck, 60. So Kim Burke has got 80 seconds. So he's going to be well and truly out before those other ones with their compulsory pit stops.
Chris Perini on screen remains our leader ahead of Peter Padden, who is right behind him. And this is pretty much the sort of race we saw yesterday. It wasn't until the pit stop that Perini had got to around about 3.5, 4 seconds out in front of Padden. And that 5 second margin in the pits just got Padden out in front of Perini. As we said, that was the situation until 3 laps left in the race when Perini finally took the lead and then went on to take the win. As you can see, Peter Padden trying to find a way. Let's head down to Cameron. He's got some word in the pits.
Yeah, I got Aldous Mitchell out of the car at the moment. What happened?
Coming around towards the hill, I had a car inside me. I haven't seen the video yet, so I'm actually not sure where it was, but definitely knew I was there. Had one contact. Then there was enough racing room, and then he came in for a second go before turning in onto turn 4. So the second contact just threw me into the grass and into the wall. I think he arrived at the wrong race meet. I think he was supposed to be dodging cars this weekend.
Hard luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so we'll take no further part. Aldous Mitchell, new to the RAC Cup. Well, maybe that's where the big boys play, Tony, when things get a bit push and shove, a bit of contact out there. So it's his championship time. People want to try and get as much as they possibly can, but we never want to see a competitor being sidelined. And I'm sure throughout today we're going to have many stories like that, as we do every weekend. Cooper Murray was one yesterday in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. Was a tough story there as well. The Morris Finance leaderboard fires. It's Chris Perini on lap number 5 leading Peter Padden. And you sort of start to get a bit of a feeling that this might be changed very soon. Peter Padden is on maximum attack in the first Focus car. And he's certainly trying various different lines, now sliding it out of the hairpin and trying to get good drive. He's actually lost the drive coming out of there. Mitch Nielsen's not able to match this exact pace out in front. He's thereabouts. He's about 0.1, 0.2 off the ultimate lap time that Perini and Padden are doing at the moment.
And that hasn't really changed, Daz. He's been there, thereabouts all the way through. So that's not bad pace from him.
Yeah, and he's there for the pit stops.
Yep,
so
correct.
He's thereabouts anyway. So they're not exactly getting away from him. In fact, it's only just under 2 seconds to the leader and 1.3 to second place. So he's really hanging in there. And this guy has not been doing it for a long time. On debut last season, they won the Rookie of the Year, him and his dad. They go racing together. So it's really a good combination. But certainly in the New South Wales Supersports Championship, he's been doing very, very well. Had a great race meeting at Wakefield Park recently in the New South Wales State Series. So watch out for the car in P3. Less experience in racing than the two cars in front, but he's not letting that slow him down at all.
No, but as you said, Daz, and mentioned it earlier on, he gets a 20-second advantage basically in the pit lane. If he goes in with only a 5-second margin between these two, he comes out 15 seconds in front, and he's obviously got the pace to hold that. So Mitch Nielsen finds himself in a very, very enviable situation, I would have thought.
And there it is. Chris Perini's gone wide. Padden pounces side by side up into the left-hander kink. This is going to put him outside at the top, but no. Chris Perini says, righto, you want that more than me there, Pete. Away you go. And Mitch Nielsen's had a big wake-up at the wheel there as well, because he's been called on to respond. Really cool colour in the Nielsen car. It's like a carbony, graphite sort of look. Really catches the light as it streams on down. That day glow orange light covers on the front.
I've always been more of a gunmetal grey man myself, but...
Let me guess, the Sandman panel van in gunmetal grey with a bar and mirrors on it.
Please, I'm excited.
Well, that's not what's going on with Mitch Nielsen at the moment. That's that carbony grey look. Really shiny.
Still nice, though.
Does look great. Looks great. Actually, the radicals, the whole silhouette around this type of sports car really does purposeful type of race. They're really similar with the prototypes when we see the Wolves as well. They really do look very, very purposeful race cars.
Even just the plain white on these cars. Not many cars look good, racing cars, in plain white, but they do in the radicals.
Yep, certainly. Purposeful race cars, these things here. And here at Sydney Motorsport Park with Radical Australia, they do drive days, they do corporate days. Not exactly with these cars, but the car that Liam Talbot won his SR3 Radical Australia Cup Championship with was Paul Stokel's drive school car.
There you go.
It actually had pedals on the passenger side, and Liam won that championship in a drive school car. Okay, they tweaked some performance here and there, and there was some, the paddle shifts was sped up to proper race time and all that sort of thing on it, but Liam Talbot has gone on now driving the Walkinshaw Porsche in the Australian GT Championship. So there's certainly somewhere to go if you've been successful in radicals, that's for sure.
So Peter Padden is our new leader. Took that a lap ago. Leads by a clear second now to Chris Perini, who's just backed off a fraction. Mitch Nielsen also right there as well. Only just over half a second between Nielsen and Perini. As we see a move being made by Kim Burke. No, pulls out of that.
Gee, Kim Burke, in ordinary circumstance, would have streamed on by there on Tony Haggerty. He's playing a really conservative game out there at the moment. He almost halted behind him and went, no, you go, no, you go, no, you go.
And testament to that is how he raced yesterday here. He knew he needed maximum points out of yesterday's race to keep that championship gap that he had. So he quickly moved from 12th to around about 8th in the first 3 or 4 laps, and then got himself up as high. I think he might have even been second there at one stage during the pit stop changes. So Kim Burke got himself into a really good situation to get as many points as he could yesterday. All he needs to do is get one today.
Well, in fact, he started the season with an immense focus for this year. And as I mentioned earlier, numerous times a bridesmaid, second place in the championship and various different spots on the podium as far as the championship is concerned. Really committed. In fact, he cleared his calendar. Most of these guys are successful businessmen, and a lot of the time it takes them away from their motorsport. But he cleared his calendar, made sure he was at the racetrack every time the RAC Cup was running. Made sure he had the right Dunlops underneath him, the control tyre, and they were always pressured right. Made sure the crew behind him had the car prepped and ready to go. A couple of days testing as well throughout the season just to make sure everything's okay. And at the moment, everything is okay for Kim Burke and taking out this title.
And you're right in regards to that, Daz, and the fact that consistency across all rounds will get you the title. Kim Burke and Chris Perini have been in all races so far this year. Let's head down to Cameron in pit lane.
As we build towards the 4-hour production car race later today, I thought I'd grab one of our drivers in that, and a driver that's had a bit of success at Sandown a week ago, Elliot Barber. Well done with the Super Utes.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it was good just filling in for actually Toby Price. So to jump in and get a result was pretty cool. We come away with a win, but we're here this weekend with the 4-hour and with MG Motorsport. So, yeah, looking forward to settling up into the MG later on and sitting there for a couple of hours enjoying it.
Tell us some of the challenges you faced today in the MG. It's 4 hours is a long race.
Yeah, we're obviously a Class E car. 4 hours is a long race, and for us, I guess the hardest thing is the faster cars. So trying to race our own race, but also we've got cars with coming at us quite fast, so making sure we don't get in the way and don't get caught up in those sort of issues as well. So that's probably the hardest thing for us. But yeah, it's quite a long time in the car around here. But no, I can't wait. Like it's good fun. The car's really nice to drive, so I'm looking forward to just getting in and settling a rhythm.
And watch out, Greg Russ Media will come and tell you to take your sunglasses off. Look at him, he's already watching you in the background.
It's too bright, mate. Yeah, no. It's because I've got such a bright future. No, I don't think so. But no, yeah, looking forward to the MG today. It should be a good race.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thanks, guys.
Pit lane now open for the pit stops to start. So 15 minutes in to 35 minutes in, the pit stop window will be open. The field being told via a board at the start-finish line that they can now do their compulsory pit stops. Now, yesterday we saw it all happen pretty early, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
They piled in that first sort of 2 to 3 minutes. Be interesting to see how it plays out. The teams or the drivers will get together with their contacts in pit lane and will map out a plan as to how they want things to go. Really, the only thing that can be done to the car is tyre pressure adjustments. So they could play a strategy where they'll set them either high or low at the start of the race, and that will be sort of dictate as to what time during the race they will make their way into the lane to do that compulsory pit stop.
Must be so frustrating for a driver, Jazz, just to be sitting there in pit lane, knowing that nothing's happening to your car. They're not changing tyres, they're not putting fuel in, they're not doing anything. You're just sitting there waiting to go out. It goes frustrating. It goes against all those fast twitch fibres that the racing car drivers have, don't they? You've got to call on the slow twitch fibres to relax and just take a big deep breath. Take the opportunity to maybe have a bit of an electrolyte solution or just some big deep breaths, concentrate, remain focused, because at the start of the race, the adrenaline takes over. That's gone now. You're now into the race, you've settled down. So you're actually breaking that concentration, and you'll often talk to a race driver and they say, oh, it was fine until the pit stop, broke my concentration, I never regained it.
Well, even a lot of race drivers who don't like much talk from pit lane, they tell their guys, just stay off the radio, just let me focus on what I'm doing.
Yeah, you've got an opportunity between where the grid is and where the start line to talk to me, deliver the message in the shortest possible time, and that's often a personal preference. We've got one of the cars in the lane already. It's the guy out of 12th, and that's out of fourth, it's John Beck. So took a new engine overnight on debut here in the RAC Cup, and he's in the lane. Kim Burke, our champion-elect, goes to the lane early. In fact, he's following, is that Kenny that he's following in? That's the Beck car. So that puts Simon Haggerty up into P4.
Peter Clare is the other car that's coming ahead of Kim Burke.
Yep.
47.
So Peter Clare's really come along a long way this year in the RAC, really starting to find his feet in the title hunt and be able to challenge for just off the back of the podium, I guess, is where he's found his most success throughout this year, but certainly concentrating on getting those results in. Phil Anseline was also going to be here with us this weekend, so he's not taking any further part. And for the first time, I'm going to say almost ever, Perini nearly into the back of Padden. So the two race leaders come in together. Perini went to the dirt on the run into the lane there to try and avoid that. That was nearly very, very nasty. Now here's a race driver resting. Yeah, in the wild, kids. This is a race driver resting. Peter Clare just taking on instructions there, nodding to the crew, having a drink there as well. So good to see, getting refreshed. And the RA Motorsport guys just go about it, don't they? They've been doing it for that long. So Peter Clare getting service.
So John Beck's made his way out. He was obviously on the shorter time of 60 seconds. So he gets to head out now.
Peter Clare, 80 seconds in the lane.
Just with Chris Perini here, guys, I might be able to get a quick word to him. That was a pretty wild entry into pit lane.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Kept it under control, I think.
Other than that, everything's going okay?
Yeah, all good. Trying to do my best to chase Pete here. Got my hands full.
Righto, we'll leave you to it. Thank you.
Good on you, Rusty. Kim Burke makes his way out as well. So his time has elapsed.
So Kim Burke had a total of 80 seconds as well. This is going to play quite nicely for Kim Burke, the way his 80 seconds has panned out, because these two guys are going to be still in the lane for a little bit longer. They went in the lane substantially, about 20 seconds further ahead of Kim Burke. So let's see how Peter Padden and Chris Perini can pull their way back through the field. That'll be Tony Haggerty.
Even though it's an 80-second stop, Daz, in total, the stop came out for Kim Burke at 2 minutes and 11. So that's, what's that? That's 120, 131 seconds. So obviously the in and out time's included in that. It's a long time to be on slow, isn't it?
Yeah, Tony Haggerty's only in there for 70. I do like the fact that both Tony and Simon race under the HRT, the Haggerty Racing Team. Stands for other things in Australian motorsport.
Yeah, it does.
But here today, it's the Haggerty Racing Team, the HRT, in the Radical Australia Cup. It's the number 33, standing still. That's Michael Whiting. He's got a short stop. In fact, it looks like he stalled it, trying to get out there. So Michael Whiting will join back in. He only had the compulsory 60 seconds. 1 minute, catch your breath, normalise your tyre pressures, and head back out. Gee, these cars, the way they're so low, slow slung, stiffly sprung, pick up every bump in the road, don't they? Really rattle the head around inside the helmet.
Now, confirm for me, Daz, Mitch Nielsen, did you say he had 80 seconds? Because if he did, then we'd say he's probably around about the same time as Kim Burke. That was also 80 seconds. So a 2 minute 11 turnaround. You look at the difference between Mitch Nielsen now and Peter Padden is 1.2 laps, a minute 30. He's going to come out very much close. Cameron down in pit lane, Cam.
Just to give you an insight into the drivers as well, and some of the nervousness down here. Michael Whiting came in before. When he went to refire the car, he started to panic until the team told him to turn the ignition back on, and then he stalled it leaving the lane. So high pressure for some of our drivers, particularly those of them that are probably not as experienced as our front runners.
Number 56 there on screen, that's Greg Kenny. As we go back down to the lane with Greg Rust. Lots happening down there, Rusty.
I might be able to dive in very quickly with Simon Haggerty. I think you've only got about 20 seconds to go. All good so far?
Yeah, pretty good out there. Lots of grip. Not too much traffic. It's looking pretty good.
I think we've got to let him go, boys. He's getting the signal.
He's certainly on it there. The crew will jump over any form of media or officials if they're about to go out there.
Rusty could have jumped in the left-hand side, couldn't he?
Yeah, well, Rusty could probably jump in the driver's side, never burning one of these. He's driven Aussie racing cars. He's driven various different things he's been invited into. And we get back out on track with the number 56 of Greg Kenny. Nothing like a microphone being shoved in your face like that at the last minute.
So, interesting situation now for Mitch Nielsen, who remains out now, only driver not to come in for a pit stop. Every other driver has had their compulsory pit stop. Mitch Nielsen looks like he might be trying to leave it as late as he can to try and build up this gap as much as he can to give him every opportunity to come out from that pit stop in front.
Looking down inside the car there. Have a look at that carbon fibre Bell helmet. It's probably about the value of my road car, that helmet right there. Yeah, good few $1,000s worth of safety item there.
The Datsun 180B is obviously worth a little bit more than that, isn't it, Daz?
Oh, a good Datsun 180B is worth a fortune these days. That's beside the point. It's our 52, Brett Medlin, the guy that's been around since the very, very early days of Radical Australia Cup. It's down to Greg Rust again in the lane.
You probably could have seen that Brett was quite animated when he first arrived into the lane and talking to the Radical Australia team here. So one of the crew dived in and he's been looking for something that appears to be a little bit loose and floating around in the footwell, effectively on the passenger side of the car. Now, when the crew member walked away, I'm not sure that he found it. We'll see if we can get some clarity on that. Did you find something?
Yeah, sure.
What did we find? What did you find?
Came loose.
Radio.
Yeah, radio came loose.
So do you have comms?
No, we don't have comms, no.
Okay, so there you go. There was a radio issue. You can see the unit itself has come loose during that stint. And the difficulty, I guess, for him now is no comms for the rest of the race.
Tough when you've got 25 minutes left and you've got absolutely no communication with your team.
Yeah, you know what, back in the day, it was just a blackboard with a bit of chalk on it held out saying come in next lap, or you've got
But that's
16
okay if you're
laps
used
to
to
go.
that, Daz.
Yeah, that's
okay
true
if you're used to that. And I'm sure the guys will use that, utilise that for Brendan. But, yeah, when you're used to hearing blokes talking to you all the time and giving you little messages here and there, it'll be tougher. A lot less tougher, though, than having a radio underneath your accelerator foot.
Yeah, that's it. That's difficult. Absolutely difficult. Last thing you want anything is rattling around your feet, that's for sure.
It's normally change in my car. Flying out from the ashtray.
Peter Clare leading Michael Whiting and Tony Haggerty here. Just up the road is Greg Kenny, who's just exited the pits on his outlap. We look further back, that'll be the number 5 of Simon Haggerty. So they'll start to push through here, and Kim Burke down there in 11th place, taking absolutely no risks at all. He's emerged after his compulsory stop, which was 80 seconds, and sitting there in 11th place. What points does he take out for 11th place? 36. So that really confirms a good spot to be right now for Kim Burke, out of any sort of trouble.
Mitch Nielsen still remains out on the track. The only driver not to complete his compulsory pit stop. And as we said, just trying to increase that lead, but in doing so, it looks like Peter Patton might actually be decreasing the gap between himself and Mitch Nielsen. It was 1.2 laps on our timing screens. It's now down to 1.1 laps. So Peter Patton starting to reel in Mitch Nielsen. They're lapping at around about 1:30, our race leaders. So that's a 90-second margin plus the 0.1. Probably gives us, we've got a spinner. Is that Chris Perini?
It is Chris Perini in the hairpin. In the hairpin. So that right there has got a safety car out on track now, heading out on track. So, well, Kim Burke can relax, I dare say. Absolutely relax now.
That hurts Mitch Nielsen.
It does hurt Mitch Nielsen. That's absolutely not ideal for him. But the good thing is, in recent times, Mitch Nielsen's had a great run in the State Series. So, yes, the Radical Australia Cup is the absolute upper echelon of radical racing. And they, of course, have the Masters, the Radical Masters over in Europe every year as well, where we've seen the Aussies go over there and represent very, very well on podium year in, year out. We get back underway, and the inevitable for Mitch Nielsen is going to occur. He still has to get that pit stop done. In fact, he's only got 1 minute and 30 seconds to get that done in, so he will be in next lap. Currently leading, but you would have to suggest in the next minute or so we'll go down through the field.
Nearly, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing for Mitch Nielsen. He was leading by a lap, and now due to the safety car, he could be down a lap.
Yeah, that's the swings and roundabouts, isn't it? So this is why those crews go in early to get that compulsory pit stop done. I think actually Brad's racing this weekend as well, so he'll be handing it over to his dad to complete the racing. What a way to go racing. Bit of father and son work. Great way to do it. Fantastic. Dad, if you're listening, let's go racing.
Since you have a daughter, you'll be able to do ballet.
Yeah, well, there we go.
You'll be able to do ballet with her one weekend or something.
We'll skip this generation or the current generation, and the next one I'll go racing with my daughter. After the ballet.
Why not?
Absolutely. So Mitch Nielsen out in front, but it's a little bit of inevitability sneaking in here because Peter Patton, then John Beck, in behind there as well. What's happened? Freddie's gone from the safety car, sorry. Peter Patton, Beck, that's a good run. So here comes Nielsen in.
Yeah, he does now.
Peter Patton went with him on that toe there as well. He nearly ended up down the pit lane with him in the number 31. Everything in my mind now suggests that Peter Patton's going to go on with this as Mitch Nelson plunges down into pit lane. Garth Walden race team looking after Perini's car.
Kim Burke is going to be probably the happiest man around at the moment, unfortunately for Chris Perini, who's out of the race. But for Kim Burke, that means...
Keep a lid on it, Kim. Keep driving. Keep ticking the boxes. Run up through the gearbox, on the brakes.
Bit of a spin there from Tony Haggerty. Off he goes as Mitch Nielsen comes to a stop, and out he goes. Dad Brad set to pop in.
How's that for a well-drilled team? Out one side,
in the other.
Dad in the other. Get the seat insert out. Crew in there, making sure it's all clear. Tyres being checked. Car control at the front, dedicated to that role. Stopwatch in hand. List of compulsory pit stop times. And that's the way they go about it. Now, get the driver in.
Belts and done.
Keeping his hands out of the way so he doesn't interfere with the driver assistant and his co-driver there as well. Back into the race now.
Could have been a little bit of a interesting situation for Mitch Whiting, who just took up some dirt. A little foray off the track.
Kim Burke's even avoiding the dust that's being spit up in front of him at the moment. This is good. This is great footage of Kim Burke just nursing a championship in.
Tony Haggerty hopped out of the car and now hops back in.
He's pushed himself back onto the edge of the track. Probably wants to get his belt back on before he heads off any further out on this lap. Or is he just trying to remove himself out of harm's way? Is that down at turn 2? Yes, it is. So away goes Brad Nielsen.
And safety car.
Into the race again, so another safety car. Does this help Brad Mitch Nelson?
It probably might. Actually, it brings him onto the back of the field, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he doesn't go...
Remains on the lap.
He doesn't go a lap down, but remains on the lap.
Ah, good. There is swings and roundabouts in motorsport. Yeah. You lose on the swings, you make up on the roundabout. The merry-go-round. We go down to pit lane with Cam.
I've got Chris Perini here. Chris, you had pole position, win race 1. What's happened in race 2?
Yeah, it was a fantastic Saturday, obviously. I think basically, not only did I have my hands full then, you know, just trying to push everything out to keep in touch with Pete there. Unfortunately, the old faithful has been perfect, flawless all year round. She's just let go there. Something's let go in the rear in coming into turn 8, and it locked the rear wheels and obviously turned me around. Couldn't go anywhere.
They're a great bit of kit though, aren't they?
Yeah, unreal. Obviously a bit of a workout. Lots of fun. Just, you know, it's like super high-powered go-kart, you know, on steroids. It's just so raw and so fun all the time to drive, no matter what's happening. So we were in a pretty good position there, but, you know, these things happen.
Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
And I'm with Mitch Nielsen. The pit stop's completed. The crew just held him once you'd done the driver change, just a little bit to make sure that you stuck to the 70 seconds, didn't they?
Yeah, that's correct. So, because we got third yesterday, we've got an additional 10-second on top of our mandatory 60-second pit stop. So we had to get held back for 70 seconds, and then hopefully Dad's out there now. Hopefully he can bring that gap down, and who knows, with the safety car, I don't really know where we're at. So,
what did you think of the timing of the safety car? What went through your mind when it came out?
I was pushing hard to try and get a bit of a buffer, and then the safety car didn't really help us at all. It just closed up the field again. But it is what it is, and we'll keep our head up and see how we go.
Quick one finally before we go. Car's all good. It looked like it was seamless.
Yeah, car's going great. It's actually a lot more grip out there in the morning session as opposed to yesterday's afternoon session. So, car feels great, and hopefully you can bring it home.
Good on you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And charging down the straight, Peter Patton leads the way. John Beck changed an engine overnight and in P2 and on debut in the RAC. Will he get a podium in this race? There goes Kim Burke down the straight there as well in his championship mode. Around exiting 3. It's look to be just not getting right back up to speed quickly, do they? They're sort of just gingerly finding their way around The number 56 there of Greg Kenny, Peter Clare in the 47. So Peter Clare doing a really good job this weekend. Keeping himself trucking along, putting himself in out of any sort of harm's way. And there's the Morris Finance leaderboard. Of course, we've got the Morris Finance Driver Lounge here this weekend as well for those trackside. Peter Padden, John Burke, Bill Medlin, and Greg Kenny. I guess Peter Padden, no stranger to the front, but Beck, Brett Medlin, and Greg Kenny, newcomers to this far up the field.
Peter Clare in 5th, Brad Nielsen up to 6th now. Kim Burke 7th, Simon Haggerty in 8th place.
One of our photographers there in the bright pink vest, like Nathan Wong from Speed Shots, getting all the good shots. He'll have probably got a rapid fire shot of those cars going into each other under safety car. Big g'day to all of our motorsport photographers out there. Do a fantastic job bringing all those photos for us, which gets plastered all over social media and the magazines, Auto Action, and the like. They do a ripper job so that we can keep these race meetings for prosperity in print. Really like what our photographers do.
This has been a great weekend for Peter Patton. Led for a fair bit of the race yesterday after the pit stops. Finished in 2nd place after Chris Perini took him with a couple of laps to go, and he'll take victory, one would think, in this second race as well.
There's that black flag being hung out now for the number 52.
Yep, that is the car of Bill Medland.
So the reason behind that is he didn't complete the compulsory pit stop correctly. So there's the penalty. If you're a little bit eager to get on with it, you're brought back in. And you know, Bill Medlin's in a podium position now. He's going to lose that.
And he'll need to come in, I would have thought, maybe this lap.
Yeah.
Because with only 4:31 left on the clock.
Yeah, that was another thing actually brought up in driver's briefing was you don't have an argument back to race control with a black flag or a meatball flag. You are to come in straight away. It's not like you get to argue it at the end of the race. You'll be excluded.
Now, was Bill Medlin the car that had the radio problems?
Yes.
It was. So his crew can't tell him, so he's going to have to see the flag as he comes and finishes this lap.
So he's coming down the straight now.
Yep. There he is. He's seen it there.
Be interesting whether he actually has seen it or not. They're not really gesticulating much. They're just holding it there. Often you'll see the officials moving them around.
I actually don't even know if the officials know that he's seen it, because they've kept it out there.
I tell you what, though, that's a tough background, isn't it? The box there in is black.
Which is black. Yeah, correct.
That's a hard spot.
So there was Bill Medlin just going through screen there. His radio came loose during the first half of the race. It was removed during the pit stop, so he has no communication to his team and is relying on the sighting of the black flag at the control tower, effectively, to bring himself in for a compulsory drive-through.
Which I think in about the first or second sentence in the rule book under flags is it is the driver's obligation to obey the flags. Doesn't matter where or how they're being shown. Yeah. If you're being shown a flag, whether it be red, black, yellow, the deteriorating surface flag, which is the yellow and red stripe, it is the driver's obligation to obey that flag because it's there for a reason. More often than not, safety.
Yep.
In this case, it's a breach of the rules, so there's going to be an argument.
So with 2:40 on the clock and Medlin making his way back around the last couple of turns, be interesting to see whether he does come into pit lane on this one. I would assume he probably will, having seen it. Yep, he pulls right over to the left, and he will come in to pit lane now to serve his drive-through. So that is complete and done. With just over 2 minutes to go, that's about 2 laps remaining. So Peter Patton remains our leader, 5 seconds ahead of John Beck. Peter Clare in 3rd place. Greg Kenny in 4th at our Morris Finance leaderboard. If you want to be a part of the action, you can always get us on socials at hashtag Shannons Nats, and watching, of course, on the nationals.com.au. There's Bill Medlin in and out. So with 1.5 minutes to go, he drops down to 6th place now. Kim Burke moves up to 5th place in the pecking order. And it'll be a fitting finish for our 2018 Radical Australia Cup champion, Kim Burke, who just needs to finish one more lap of this race to be crowned that. Peter Patton remains the man in front, as we said, had a good day yesterday. John Beck there on screen has been second for the majority of the second half of this race. Peter Patton, though, is our leader out front and doing a nice job of it. Had a great battle with Chris Perini yesterday throughout race 1, the 50 minutes there, and that battle continued today up until just after the pit stops, when unfortunately for Chris Perini, something went in the back of his car. We heard that, and it turned him around at the hairpin, and as a result, out of the race now, Chris Perini, and finishing in 11th place for the meet. As Peter Patton looks to make his way home. Black flag also being showed to car number 5, Simon Haggerty. But the checkered flag may come before he gets to serve that, as our officials get the checkered flag ready. John Beck in the 77 will finish 6 seconds behind Peter Patton in 2nd place. But as we focus on our winner and our leader of race number 2, Peter Patton, who makes the final turn home here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and after 50 minutes of racing in race 2 of the Radical Australia Cup, Peter Patton crosses the line in 1st place. The 77 of John Beck crossing the line in 2nd. Behind them, the 33 of Michael Whiting. Peter Clare also in that group. He finishes in 3rd place. But taking his final turn as well of Sydney Motorsport Park in the last race of 2018, we also welcome home our 2018 Radical Australia Cup champion in Kim Burke, as he makes his way and crosses the line in 5th place. Big year for Kim Burke, and a fantastic win for him here in the 2018 Radical Australia Cup for season 2018. Just had to drive a conservative race today. Just made sure he brought that car home. It was all about Chris Perini and where he was going to finish as well. Should Kim Burke not have finished this race and Chris Perini won and had the fastest lap, then it could have been a different story. But Peter Patton was our winner ahead of John Beck. Peter Clare in 3rd place, Greg Kenny 4th. Kim Burke finishing in 5th place, our champion. Bill Medlin, Brad Nielsen taking over from his son in the 2nd half of the race. Simon Haggerty, Michael Whiting and Tony Haggerty making our top 10 here in race number 2 for the Radical Australia Cup. Let's have a look at the highlights from race 2. And at the start, it was Chris Perini who got a rip up, as did Mitch Nielsen. Got himself up to 3rd place. Heading wide was Aldius Mitchell, and hitting the concrete wall, that took him out. A rare journey into the dirts for the number 6 of Tony Haggerty. He did come back on track. Kim Burke and Tony Haggerty having a little bit of a stoush early on, as did the 47 of Peter Clare and Simon Haggerty in front of him. There's Chris Perini and Peter Patton in battle. Peter Patton getting the job done right here as he comes up the inside of Perini.
Perini could have pushed the issue, but he didn't. He dropped back and let Patton take the lead.
There's Kim Burke just easing this championship through. We've seen this footage a couple of times now where he's just letting the race take part without him being involved in any incident at all, and ultimately finishing in 5th place and a fitting champ after so many years of trying to do so. There's the Shannons safety car. Because of this, Chris Perini. And away we went again as we saw the Nielsen car coming into the lane out of the lead. Strange times here with the number 6, Tony Haggerty. He's getting back underway there. And this was even a stranger time as we saw under safety cars, a decent old shunt, wasn't it? What do you think Kim Burke felt right then?
You're kidding me.
Yeah, you say, what?
Fortunately, at that point, though, for Kim Burke, Chris Perini was already out of the race, so it wouldn't have mattered.
A countback would have...
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's the checkered flag. What a fitting end to a season in the Radical Australia Cup.